So today we are going to talk about how to pose families with confidence. I remember when I first started my business, and I remember going out to my very first session, and I had my camera. I was pretty new to manual mode. I was still like trying to figure out all the settings and not have an overexposed or underexposed image. And I remember getting there and I got my camera settings right, and then I kind of looked at my family. I'm like, okay, stand there. Like, I didn't know what to do. And guys, I just felt like such an amateur. I remember them looking at me and they're like, well, what do I do with my hands? Like, do I stand? How do I stand? Do I look okay? Like, the kids were confused and everything. So when you go to a session, in order to have confidence at the session, you need to go in with a plan. And this plan can vary from family to family, but you really need to have a plan, a game plan going into it. And I say that, but you also need to be okay with having to go off the plan a little bit, especially in family photography, because kids are a little unpredictable, right? So we want to make sure we go in with a game plan and then kind of like have a backup and like, okay, if this doesn't work, we'll kind of do this. But I'm going to talk to you guys about my posing flow that has given me so much confidence in the beginning of my business. Okay. So the first thing that I do after I greet my clients and everything is I try and get that money shot, the one that every mom wants. You know what I'm talking about? The one where everyone's staring, smiling at the camera, and they have the best picture smiles and everything, right? So we want to try and get that picture first. And the reason why is because kids are more likely to behave, especially little ones, well at the beginning of the session than they are at the end of the session, okay? At the end of the session, they're kind of over it, right? At the beginning of the session, it's very new still. They're kind of interested in who you are. So you're more likely to get their attention and get them to smile at you, okay? So what I like to do is I like to kind of go into my sessions, and the first thing that I do before I do the money shot is I want to get them loose. I want to get them kind of like used to moving around because I am not this stiff photographer. Like, I don't like my families just standing there really stiff. Nobody likes those images, honestly. Like, I do this even to myself. Like, sometimes if I pose like and I'm really stiff, I'm like, why do I look like that? It's so much easier when you just look a little bit more natural. So I try and get them to move around a little bit first, which is why I do walking images first. So when I do this, I have all the families kind of hold hands, especially when they're little kids. If they are older kids, I don't usually have them hold hands. I just kind of have them walk towards me and just kind of looking at each other. And I will show them, I visually show them what I want them to do. I will tell them, do not stare and walk and stare at me. That is awkward and nobody walks like that. Please don't do that. Walking at me smiling like this, okay? And I tell them, what I want you guys to do is just interact with each other. I know it may I know it may feel a little silly at first, but I promise these pictures are really beautiful, okay? And if you don't like them, then we can go and scratch them and we'll just move forward next. But I like to kind of just get you guys a little bit warmed up and used to moving around, and it gets a little bit of the wiggles out from the kids, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and go. We're gonna start right here, and I want you guys to hold hands and I show them. I want you guys to looking at each other, and I want you to laugh at your little kids, and mom and dad, make sure you guys look at each other as well. And I'll be shouting if you guys are like staring at the same person. I'll shout to like change it up, okay? All right, here we go. Now, if there's a little kid that cannot kind of walk by themselves, or you can kind of tell that it might be a little bit of an issue, I always try and get dad to hold the little one, but 9 out of 10 times the little one wants to be held by mom. Usually when little kids are not in the most comfortable situation, for some reason they always gravitate towards mom. That's their comfort zone. So the reason why I don't like mom holding the little ones is because when they hold them, especially when they're in a dress, they kind of hold them up like this. They put their hip out and they just kind of look, if you have a little kid, you know what I'm talking about. It just looks a little funky sometimes, and moms don't like it. I'd much rather mom hold her dress and like swish it around and just be a little bit less, I guess, having heavy stuff around her, and her feeling like she's just like weighted down. Okay. I'd much rather have dad do it because dad will typically, and you know the difference. You know the difference between the mom hold and the dad hold. The dad will hold them and they'll still kind of stand up straight. Okay. So I usually try and do that. 9 out of 10 times they want mom. So we just kind of do that. But I do always ask at first. Okay. Once we get them moving and walking, I do it twice because the second time is always better than the first. The first time they feel awkward. The second time they're like, okay, like they're kind of loosening up and stuff. And then that's when I go ahead and pose everybody together. Guys, I always put mom and dad together. I always pose dad first. My go-to money shot is dad standing with his hips faced towards the camera in a relaxed stance. Do not make him like stand with his feet together or anything. Put him like a little bit like shoulder length, but like one foot just a little bit in front of the other, just so it's like a little bit more relaxed. And then have mom go into her husband, put her belly button kind of like into his belt loop, and then just turn a little bit. All that weight is going to be on her back leg, okay? Because when you put it on the front leg, your front appears heavier. When you put it on the back, it's going to kind of elongate them, all right? And then I kind of pile in the kids around them, okay? If there's a little one, again, I try and have dad hold the little one. If the little one does not want to be held by dad, then I'm going to switch it up a little bit. And mom's going to pull away from her husband a little bit, and she's just going to hold the little one right here or in between mom and dad, and both of them can hold the little one, okay? But typically what I'll do is if they can't if they can stand on their own and I don't need them to be held, then I'll have mom and dad stand like that. And I'm just going to start piling in the kids around them. Make sure everyone is touching in some way, whether that is putting their hand on their shoulder, whether that is holding hands, whether that is I guess like around the hip or around the arm. Like if dad is standing there like this and that you have like another girl probably about like 6 or 7, she can kind of hold dad's arm and stuff. So you want to make sure everyone's kind of connecting in some way. All right. After this, we do a lot of fun games and we play around and stuff. But my next go-to is I will go ahead and do the next family pose of everyone sitting on the ground. So everyone's sitting. Again, we sit dad first. We put mom in right next to him. We always want mom and dad sitting together so that way they look like they're together. And I usually have mom do a mermaid pose, and then dad's going to put his arm behind mom, and he's going to use it to prop himself up, and mom's going to kind of snuggle right in here, okay? And then I just pile in the kids around them. They can be on laps, they can be sitting next to them. Try not to put them in front unless there's a lot of kids, then I'll put them in front, but just have them around them. If you have a like 8 or 9-year-old and you want them kneeling behind mom, please, please, please do not have them kneel like right here, okay, where their whole body is covered and their head's just popping up. It looks creepy. It looks like a head's just like a stalker is just like looking over the family. Okay. Have them move over a little bit so you can see their body, and have them have their arm touching like mom's shoulder or something. Okay. Or dad's shoulder, or whatever that might be. Usually if I do that, I usually put them behind mom because mom's usually a little bit shorter. Okay. From here, I'll do mom or parents and their kids, because at this point we're probably getting to, especially if they're little ones, we're probably getting to a point where the kids are getting a little rowdy. Okay, so we want to go ahead and real quick get mom and kids, dad and kids, and then I give a break. I just give a break. And at this point, if the kids are staying away from the water, because usually I'm at the beach and they're just kind of playing, I'll grab pictures of just mom and her husband real quick, and then I will do a couple candid shots, and then I'll start pulling away the kids to do individual shots, and like kind of like a little breakout group. Okay, this is like my go-to. If you ever come to a family session with me, usually this is it. Usually this is my whole system. The only time that I kind of switch up the system a little bit is towards the end of the session. I'll go ahead and do like another walking one down by the water, because I'm at the beach and I can't do walking at the water like when the sun is that high. And so just get those like really pretty sunset views. And then after that, I'll let the kids, like if mom and dad say it's okay, go play in the water and stuff, and I'll grab pictures of that. But I love to do playing, and I love to have just like a flow to my system, because I know when there is flows in anything, in any job that you have, when you have a system in place, things run so much smoother than when you just say, I'm just going to go and wing it. Like it never works out, and you feel less confident. And then what happens is your clients start staring at you and thinking like, what are you going to do? And you like brain freeze, If you were anything like me, I struggle with anxiety. So that causes me to have anxiety and feel like I'm an amateur. And then I feel like I'm coming off as an amateur. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, are they wondering why they're paying me? Like it just, and then when they see their images, they're going to remember feeling uncomfortable because you didn't pose them and you weren't confident when you were posing them. So it's so important to make sure that you are confident with this posing, okay? So when the session is over and everything, I always ask mom and dad, like, are there any other images that you can think of? Like, is there anything else that you would like or whatever? At this point, usually they're like, no, not really. Dad's never like, yeah, I have all these other ideas. Dad's done with it at this point because the kids are playing and stuff. And I'll just start taking pictures of the kids and doing candid moments. So this is my typical posing flow. Within that posing flow, I implement a lot of games and prompts into my sessions because I have found that when you cannot pose families in a genuine like pose, I guess, if that makes sense. So like when you go on Pinterest and you see like those amazing, like, oh, they look so like emotional and you can feel the emotion on the image, right? Whether that is a mom like caressing her kid's face or you can see like the belly laughs or something along those lines. That can't be posed, okay? You cannot pose a family and tell the little kid, now belly laugh and capture it and it not look fake, okay? So when you implement games and prompts into your sessions, you create those moments, okay? I have a lot of family games guides in my shop at the moment. I also have my virtual workshop where I go over all of this inside my virtual workshop. Every single game and prompt that I play at my session, how to do it, how to implement into your session, and what it should look like, and the crop and everything on it. I have behind the scene videos of me actually doing these at sessions and everything. So definitely grab those if that's something that you're interested or you struggle with at your sessions. I will say after I started implementing games and prompts into my sessions, my photography business changed drastically. I remember the exact session. I remember the family that I had and everything. I remember going out there and just feeling like I was so done with having the exact same pictures every single time. And I was like, I just want more emotion. I feel like I'm taking pictures, but they could easily be like just cell phone pictures because I'm not capturing emotions and connections with the families. And I went out to this session. I didn't even want to go. I remember calling my friend Emily and telling her, like, I really don't want to go to this. I'm praying it rains. It didn't rain. I ended up going, and the mom and the kids were just like, can we just play on the beach and you just capture us? And I kind of guided that playing, and it was probably my favorite thing that I've ever done in my entire life. And my entire business changed. I went home that night and wrote out a bunch of different things that I thought would be fun for kids because I love playing with kids. That is something that is I love doing it. I'm passionate about it. And so I just started writing out all the games and all the silly things that I do with kids that make them like laugh and like, I guess, make a connection stronger between us and everything. And I just started implementing one by one into my sessions, and some worked and some did not. And I teach you guys all of those. All right. I hope you guys found this video helpful. And if you need anything, feel free to comment.